Welcome, everybody, to another Microsoft Unboxed Pod. This is episode 100. We've hit the big, what is this? The centennial mark? I don't know. What is the 100?
I believe it is Centennial. We'll just say we've been doing it a long time, whether people have watched us or not. Well, hey, we've been here a long time. If you have been watching us and watched all 100 episodes and watched the other pods that we've done with other outlets, we appreciate it. If you add them all together, we've done quite a few. So if you've hung out with us and kind of got to know us, fantastic. If you're new here because there's something in the description about us being fed up at the 100th episode, and it got your attention. We're glad you're here, and we hope you stay for a few more because there's no telling what might come out of our mouths.
And by we, he means me. I'm your host, Kareem Anderson.
Yes.
And that beautiful voice you just heard. Tell them who you are.
I'm David Allen. Hope everybody is doing well today on this Friday afternoon of recording, whenever you see it. But for us, it's Friday.
Yes. With that being said, let's get you guys into the pod so we can get you informed and out for your weekend. The things that we're going to be covering today will be Google AI Plus, and they're feeling a little bit heat despite having a big Google I/O. It seems that after Apple's WWDC, they said, "Hey, we got something to counter all of that great news with even better news," and we'll tell you about what that is. Google Fi has an upgrade for this summer. We'll let you guys know what that's about. If there are any more Google Fi users out there, I don't know. I hope you guys are enjoying it if you are. As I mentioned a little bit ago, we had WWDC. So last week we had Build. This week we had WWDC, and we're going to go through Apple's latest attempt to say, hey, we are still in beta when it comes to Apple Intelligence, but we promise this time it'll come out. We don't know exactly when. With that being said, we also have a lot of gaming news. Some of it good, some of it not so good. We had Xbox CEO Asha Sharma go on several different forums and do a couple interviews, and she had her point person, the CSO, also talk about what they're going to be doing to try and combat some of these incurring costs that are coming towards everybody in the gaming community when it comes to supplies and internals for RAM, hardware, and whatnot. And then they followed up a lot of good news, a lot of goodwill they've earned over the last 3 weeks or so, or I guess we called it the first 100 days of her, coming in and dropping prices and saying a bunch of rhetoric and changing a few things and, kind of guiding Xbox in a different brand to then come in with the hammer and say, we're going to be doing layoffs. So David and I have a lot of thoughts about that section, so stay tuned for that. And then we're going to talk about what happened over the weekend as far as gaming is concerned. Xbox had a gaming showcase. So we'll be talking about some of the headlining games that should be coming to Xbox that if after all that bad news we're going to cover, you're still interested in gaming, there will be there's a benefit to it. We'll get into that. And then we'll round up with actual games because this gaming showcase were just trailers for games that are coming out. But this weekend, we do have some free play day games that you can play starting, I believe, last night or yesterday evening and
Yeah,
through this
that
weekend.
I'm gonna touch on that for just a second. This is the right place to do that. No, folks, the folks, not even, it's not just our outlet. The folks that post free play days, we're not late. Microsoft releases free play days on Thursday. They put out the release sometime Friday morning between Friday morning and Friday 1 p.m. Eastern time. So when you see, I had somebody question me on that this week. When you see that begins on Thursday, well, David, where's the post? We don't have it because we don't know.
Yeah.
You, you,
I
you
mean,
know,
we could sit at our Xbox on Thursday nights and see what games are coming out, but that seems ineffectual. So we just wait till Friday morning for them to give us the rundown.
right. As do
Uh,
most other outlets.
exactly. It just makes more sense. But again, if you guys want to reach out to us, we will definitely try and get ahead of the schedule. So feel free to email or drop a comment in one of our other
Yeah,
write-ups or
absolutely.
on the podcast somewhere and let us know. We'd love to stay in communication with our listeners. With that being said, let's get into our tech rant for the week. I don't know if David has one. I know we were just talking about Mike that I do have one. If he wants to join in, he's more than welcome to. What do you got this week, or do you want to start off with?
Go ahead with yours. I don't know that I have one, but if you give me a
Okay.
minute to think about it, I can probably come up with
I mean, it's
something.
tech. That's what I mean. We love and hate it at the same time. Probably not in equal parts. I really love more than I hate. But this week, and this is actually a tech rant that started about an hour and a half ago. It is the IPO of SpaceX, and SpaceX will be the stand-in for overvalued companies in general, and it just seems to be happening more and more these days. It seems like an event more than an actuality. And I say that because we have, that they're planning a big IPO for, I believe, Anthropic and for OpenAI. And they're going to need to be big in order to sustain all of the hype they've had leading up to their IPOs and the whole hype AI bubble. And again, SpaceX is going to represent a lot of what I'm going to rant about as far as some of these companies just being overvalued for what they do versus what they actually provide. Tesla is another one that it just befuddles me. And I'm more upset with not necessarily the technology, as SpaceX does a lot of great things, but the idea that you can just say it's tech and it gets an evaluation 10 to 20 times more than it actually is, just because a lot of people, maybe investors, don't understand tech. What just happened about an hour and a half ago, maybe, was that SpaceX went public for $1.77 trillion.
Oh boy.
Right. And now to put that in perspective, and this is why I'm very upset because again, I'm also not a fan of Elon, but if you are, fine, more power to you. He just became the world's first trillionaire because of this. And not because of what the technology does, but because he did a lot of three card Monte with his companies by putting Grok and XAI into SpaceX, which gave it a higher valuation. Again, that's AI. Doesn't have any much to do with building rocket ships that blow up all the time. But he put it into that. He put that company into that. Took the money out of X, put it into this company to give it a higher valuation. He's bundling a bunch of different things, and eventually he's going to put Tesla into there, and that's how he's going to sustain this. Again, actual product is still blowing up over the skies of Texas and stuff. It's just the idea that, hey, it's a tech company and it has a ceiling so high because other tech companies have paved the road for it. The Apples, the Microsofts, the IBMs, all these other companies that have proven tech can have a high valuation because it can provide, is now paving the way for these other companies to say we could be as groundbreaking, as earth shattering as these previous companies that have already proved it, and yet they haven't done it yet. They just keep saying it. Other details to note is that the 1.77 trillion evaluation means that the company's trading at more than 90 times its trailing revenue. So that means, and if you want to kind of get all these numbers in perspective, the broader market comparison means that giants like Meta, which again, love it or hate it, produces upwards of $20 billion in revenue. And that's $60 billion in just pure profit for like the year. SpaceX is being valued like, one of these major companies like Facebook or Meta, without actually proving anything. They don't have users. They don't have Instagram. They don't have WhatsApp. They don't have Messenger. They don't have over 2 billion people using the product daily. In a normal IPO process, investment banks embark on a pricey discovery phase, adjusting for like stock initials and based on complex market feedback and demand. Elon Musk bypassed all that entirely. And that's something that should have happened. And Wall Street was forced to accept completely fixed prices with zero traditional price discovery, relying strictly on the Elon factor, meaning like, hey, he did Tesla. And again, Tesla's losing money as well. What's more upsetting is that this is a forced index fund buying, meaning like if you have a 401k, that is now part of your portfolio essentially. And if this does eventually collapse, you could lose out on part of your investment that you've been working on for, 5, 10, 15, 25 years. One of the most structural anomalies drawing criticism is how quickly stock is being fast tracked into passive index funds. Thanks to altered listing windows and relaxed rules, which again were done over the last 2 years. Blame whichever administration you want for that. Certain major index providers are fast tracking SpaceX inclusion within 15 days of its debut. And because index funds are legally mandated to buy stocks based on market cap size, billions of dollars from everyday retirement accounts and pension plans will blindly purchase SpaceX shares, regardless of whether the 1.77 trillion valuation reflects any real economic realities. Also, there was no public governance over this. It's really all this is a spectacle for today. High valuations, Elon becomes a trillionaire. We will see if it lives up to that, but I highly doubt that trading at 90 over 90 times your trailing revenue is actually going to be beneficial. Again, SpaceX is losing money. It isn't like, hey, they're just pure profit. They, I think, had an operating loss of $4.3 billion on $18.7 billion in revenue. So do the math. 18, you get $18 and four and a half of it just went out the door. You're not doing well, and you don't deserve a $1.77 trillion valuation. Your thoughts?
I'm going to divide this up just a little bit. One, I agree with everything you said, but I do have to give Elon credit for one thing. I will give the man credit for Starlink. Living in a rural area, Starlink has been a blessing. I see these dishes everywhere, literally everywhere in the rural area. I speak to my neighbors, I speak to the folks in town. You know, it is a good service. If
Hmm.
he is making money hand over fist off of Starlink, fantastic. I'm proud of you. Good job. Thank you for providing the public with something that really and truly without Starlink, a lot of people wouldn't have internet or would be stuck with crappy LTE, you know, second generation services. Let's call them that, second generation services. But this reminds me of Google in a way. Does everybody remember when Google got broken up or was forced to break up, what, a year or so ago now, where they
A
had
few years
to,
ago, yeah.
yeah, 2 years ago, where they had to unbundle things? This, as you were talking, that's what came to my mind. He's bundling everything under the SpaceX umbrella and going, look, if one fails, I got all these others over here that'll keep everything right where it needs to be. I always wondered why, when everything was going on with his political aspirations, whether they were right or wrong is not here for me to discuss today on this podcast. But he was losing big time money while he was chasing his political aspirations. Tesla was losing cash hand over fist. You never heard the stockholders cry out. You know, they even gave him a promotion and a new package. A
Well, it
higher
should be noted that he handpicked most of those on board. So I think
that's
his
true.
brother is one of them.
They did. And it made me wonder, why is nobody throwing a fit when this multi-billion-dollar company over here is losing hundreds of thousands an hour, millions of dollars a day. His dealerships are being sabotaged, for lack of a better way to put it, and he didn't care. That was a conversation even I had with my father, and he looked at me and he said, "Son, there's something wrong with that man." He says, "Regardless of what you think of his political aspirations, there's something wrong, because if my dealerships were being blown up and nobody were buying my cars and people were returning them, I think I would notice that." Well, now that this has happened and he's put everything under the SpaceX umbrella, I kind of get it. It didn't matter because he knew what he was going to do. He didn't decide this overnight. He's known for years. I've got this name SpaceX. I can IPO SpaceX as a tech company, as you said. It's going to skyrocket. If Tesla takes a hit, big deal. It doesn't matter. Look at all these other things I'm doing. Look at all these things I'm sending to the moon. Look at these missions I'm sending people here. I'm gonna send somebody to Mars. You keep talking about by 2029ish, 2030. He's gonna send somebody to Mars. Okay, well, there's got to be investments there. If that's a project, there's got to be investments there. So
Well, and you should also know too, after he started losing money, he rebranded the company as a AI and robotics company. It's no longer a car company, even though
That's true.
that's all
That's
it
true.
really that's the only thing it actually produces is cars. The robots haven't been produced yet. He's built a couple of these prototypes, but he started losing money, and the way he salvaged some of that was by saying, "Hey, we don't worry about the cars. The cars are an afterthought." Mind you, that's the start of the company.
Now,
You're an AI and robotics company.
I will say one thing. I have not been inside of a Tesla, but I have seen a few up close. The technology in those, I will give the man credit for. The technology in those is something to see. You know, other manufacturers are catching up. I'll give him credit for his technological advancements for the full self-driving cars, and all the nice things that's in those cars. I get it. But that still does not give you the right to bundle everything in one company and say, well, if Starlink takes a hit, this one will pick it up. If Tesla takes a hit, this one will pick it up. You know, and does it happen in his lifetime? Maybe, maybe not. But eventually, that whole ball of yarn will unravel. It may
Yeah,
not, we may not see it, he may not see it, but eventually that whole ball of yarn will unravel. It happens with all companies.
well,
CEOs pass away, landscape changes, you know, people get investigated, things happen and it unravels. So don't like it, irritates me. I'm being kind here on the pod. I really am. I'm trying to be fair to the man, but get my point across as well. Good for you, Elon, $1.77 trillion. I believe you are the first trillionaire. If I saw something with that labeled on it, I believe he is the first. Congratulations. Hope you keep it. But if that snowball catches up, buddy, it's going to be a big one.
that and you have the money to do basically whatever you want now. Do some good. That's my point. We'll move on to the next story. We got Google AI is dropping its prices. Do you want to tell people about that?
Yeah, yeah. We're talking about a man with a lot of money to somebody with a little less money dropping their prices and trying to get you to buy into their service. I found this interesting, which is why I reported it, because guess what, folks? AI has not gotten any cheaper, but Google really needs you on their balance sheet. They really need to show you as a user. So what they have done is drop the price of the Google AI Plus plan from $7.99 a month to only $4.99 a month, $5. They have increased the storage from 200 gig to 400 gig and given you higher usage limits on the more deep thinking models such as Gemini 3.1 Pro and deep research with higher notebook LM limits, music and video generation. Now, you also get Google Gemini in this plan is hooked into your inbox to help you find important messages, sort your inbox, and stay on top of everything in there. You read this, most people say, yeah, I'll give you $5 to try it out. Yep, I'll do that. Then what happens? You forget to cancel it. You pay that $5 again. Okay, so they got $60 out of this user, and bam, you're on top of a balance sheet. But why did they do this? Because RAM is more expensive this week than it was last week. CPUs are more expensive this week than it was last week. So we're not, seeing a decrease in cost. We're seeing a move, I think, and I think this is the start of these moves to where we've got this AI out there that we spent billions of dollars on. We talked it up, we pushed it up, we marketed it up, we gave you these presentations, we showed you everything it can do for you. We've had meetings about it. The balance sheet's not making sense. We owe billions, we're bringing back millions. It's not making sense. So a move like this is to see if they can get you trapped into that subscription, that what's the one, Rocket Money, that says, hey, we'll find all your subscriptions and turn them off. Well, Google AI wants to be part of those subscriptions because everybody's working on their AI balance sheet, I think. And this is Google's way of doing that. Give us $5. Try it out. Come on. We'll give you that storage, because Gmail's no longer quote unquote free unless you're 15 gigs or under. And there's been rumors that that's going away. So I get it, Google. That's a nice entry point. That's a nice soft landing entry point for those that are not sure. But telling them the features that they get versus showing them are two different things.
Yeah,
Because, I feel like it's like me, when you sign into Google, where's your clue that AI exists? There's not really a clue. So people are gonna sign up for this and go, "What did I get? Where is it? What can it do?"
I
And
have
when they
I have a slightly different opinion.
okay,
It's I think I agree with you that they're trying to pad their AI numbers. What they're doing is they're slipping in the AI stuff with the storage options.
yeah,
What they've done now is created a third under $20 storage option. So you have, I think it's 299 for what is it? Like less than 100 gigs or something like that.
it's
And then
100
there's
gig for 299. 299 is 100 gig. Then this plan slides in, then it slips up to the
I think it's
Pro
799 or
yeah,
was it?
the Pro, which is what I have. I have the Pro, and it's 19.99, and they have recently updated it from 2 terabyte to 5 terabyte and then give
Okay.
you Google AI Pro with, and I can tell you from using that, that's not a bad service if you need AI and you want all the tools,
Well,
you know
that's what I'm saying. I don't even think people, to your point, because they don't, ironically, for a company that has online advertising under its belt, they don't advertise,
Mm-mm.
at least visually, how well the AI works in Google, which it does. I'll give them credit for that. What they're doing though is they're saying, hey, people who want storage for Google Photos for families or more attachments for your Google Workspace because you're getting tons of emails, whatever. This is an option for you. So we're going to get more people that just come running for the storage, but we're throwing AI in there so that the bean counters can say, hey, you just got a surplus of AI users under this new plan. Whether or not they actually use it is immaterial to them, but they can say because this tier specifically has AI and they put it into this one, that they can now go back and say, at the investors meetings, we just saw a rush of uh, AI users because this plan that has AI in it, even though it's really people came for the storage because they're running out of Google Photos, now has a surplus. And then again, once to your point, once it's there, we can start to turn the water up on the stove by saying, okay, if you happen to use some of these AI features, guess what? We can start to take those away or move them to a different allocation. If you want to keep them, now we're moving from 7.99 to 9.99 or 11.99, and it's still part of the AI package. Yeah,
Starts to sound like a streaming service to me.
oh, very much so. This whole software as a service plan that started thanks to Salesforce has ruined technology, I think, in general. I think there's been since then, I can feel that there's been an overall gray cloud as far as us as even tech enthusiasts. We love the hardware, we love being new to adopt new services, but there's always that tinge of like it's either advertising, full of advertising, or I'm gonna be paying for this in perpetuity. It's no longer the, "Hey, I went out and bought Adobe, and now I use it for the next 5 years, and I wish it had new features, but it's fine. I bought it the one time." Same thing for Office, the same thing for Windows or, things like that. Or Mac, where they didn't even charge you. They were just like, "Hey, you paid up front for the hardware that was very expensive. Now you get all this cool free software." Now they're saying, "Okay, we've lowered the price for the hardware, but now Apple One and Apple TV and all these other things we're gonna start to nickel and dime you as well." I think
Well,
everyone has kind of been like, "Ah, this kinda sucks."
I'm gonna have I'm gonna have my rant now for about 30 seconds, since I didn't do
Go.
one there at the beginning. I think there needs to you were the one that kicked it off there with your Adobe comment because I could not agree more. I think there needs to be a plan out there basically by everybody. Microsoft, Adobe, Google makes no difference. Where you can go back to the old fashioned way and
Yeah.
you're not dependent upon paying somebody a monthly fee or a yearly fee to store something because everything these days is everything backs up to cloud storage, your phone, your photos. And yes, there are options like Synology's out there, NAS's, to where you can, move these things to local storage, but you have to have tech knowledge to make that work. But when you buy your new iPhone, you buy your new Android phone, what do you see? It automatically connects you to something. Cloud is what I'm getting at here. And voila, your stuff is automatically going in the cloud, whether you want it to or not. Oh, iCloud. Your iCloud storage is full. You no longer can back up photos. Anybody seen that message? I have. Oh no. Let me pull out the credit card. Got to be able to back those photos up because people are scared that the photos that are there, they're going to lose them. That fear factor is kind of played on a little bit to get you to increase that subscription. Okay, you increase it. You go from $5 to 10. You add a couple kids. Now you're going from $10 to 20. Cloud storage. I get it. We went through that part. It's good to have. But we have turned stuff like this into a requirement to have a service. I think there needs to be a way to eliminate the absolute need for a cloud bill every single month. It's just like you and I. Can we go buy a copy of Office 365 without paying our monthly cloud bill? Absolutely not. We can't do it. You know, I remember going into Best Buy, and I'm sure you do too. I remember going into my local computer shops, and what did you see on the shelf? Office in the white box with a nice Windows logo on the left. Office. You picked it up, you were happy. You might have given them 3 or 4, $500, depending on which one you bought, but you were done. You could install that on it kind of opened up software piracy. I get it, but you could install that anywhere you wanted to, and you didn't have to give Microsoft a darn thing. You bought your software. It irritates me that we're forced. I use it. I will pay the bill. I use it, but everybody is forced to pay a cloud bill. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I can simmer down now, but,
Who knows? We're gonna give you the next story. Maybe this
alright.
will pepper you up again. We got Google Fi has upgraded its summer for the summer. What are the details on this story?
Well, I read this, I actually got an email about this, and I found it. What the person said, I'm not gonna call out the person's name or anything, but it was interesting. They said, "What is in this for the actual subscriber?" And I get it. I get it. Google Fi, for those that don't know, is Google's offering of cell phone service. They resell various networks and do some funny technological wham zam to combine networks to supposedly make your service better. It's one of the only services I know that does this. I have never used Google Fi. I don't know anybody that has Google Fi, so I can't tell you if it works or not. But if you are traveling this summer and you are a Google Fi user, Google has made several improvements to make your traveling experience a little bit better. For example, you've got 5G coverage in 22 locations, including Monaco and Colombia, and that is also alongside 110 more countries, which they did not list. If you're traveling with friends and family and you use an eSIM, now this might be pretty cool, and you're using an eSIM, you can share that eSIM with 5 other devices on your data plan, no extra cost. Hey, that's pretty cool. So if you're traveling, you've got one data device and you don't want to pay for your kid's iPad or your son's iPad, everybody's going to need that data while they're traveling. We don't want the kids yelling in the back seat. You can share that data with those devices at no extra charge. They've made setting up your devices a little easier. I felt like they should have done this a long time ago. Maybe you'd have more subscribers. If there's a problem, you get step-by-step instructions on how to fix it. When you're activating your device, the app will verify that your SIM messaging and network settings are ready and are going to be okay the minute you arrive at your destination. Now, I feel like we should have done this a long time ago because if the app is just now verifying your settings, there could be an issue here. But hey,
What?
what do I know? Now, you do get these benefits for free, but as always, there's a catch to what's free. You have to be on the unlimited premium plan. You also get the Google VPN, which is interesting that they pulled it out of Google One a couple years ago, but it still exists in Google Fi. You get the Google VPN to keep your data safe on Wi Fi or cellular when you're traveling overseas in these countries or out of the country. Now, my question about this is very simple. Why are we just getting this now? That's kind of what felt weird because Google Fi, I'm not going to say the bad service, but it's kind of like everything else Google. They don't really market it, they don't really push it. It's just kind of there. And you kind of find it when you go into the Google store, if you even buy your hardware from the Google store. If you buy your hardware from the Google store, your phones, your watches, etc., you kind of get pushed in that direction of Google Fi. But if you don't, you don't see it. And I don't see it listed in my Google services anywhere. Hey, try Google Fi. So it was interesting to me that we're getting this at this point. And lastly, if you subscribe to this before June 30th and you're not on that unlimited premium plan that I mentioned, they'll give you 50% off of that unlimited premium plan for 12 months. So you've basically got 16, 17 days to decide if you want to try this now.
That's good. I got nothing to add for because I was pretty detailed run up. So go out and try it if you haven't. I tried it a few years back when I got one of my first Pixels. It's good. It
It
can be
is. That's
limited
good to hear.
depending where you're at, but it is pretty cool. It's great for especially overseas more than anything. I think here in the States, the big three have everything covered relatively well. And then you get on top of that, you have your own localized internet providers that come with your cable if you have cable or anything like that. We're pretty covered for most spots, but if you're again traveling overseas, it's good coverage, good plans. Especially if you're only going to do it for a couple, weeks or months or whatnot. That being said, let's move on to our next topic, which is the big show from Apple. This is where we can do some more ranting. This is
The big
yeah.
starting out already with the word big show, 2 words, big show. Really? Was it that big, buddy?
Ah! I mean, they gave a keynote for close to 2 hours, wasn't it? Or was it only I think maybe an hour and a half.
They green screen that keynote up awful good too, don't they?
I think so, but I think they were also I think I was listening to The Verge and Nilay Patel, who's over there, does a great job, him and David, of covering Apple stuff. He mentioned that they did have Craig Federighi, I believe, come out on stage and actually talk to people and get back into actually, doing a demo versus that. But yeah, they love their overly produced, videos and snippets of stuff. And it seemed like it was harder this year to do that when they're talking about AI. When you're talking about UI, UX, it's a little easier because those are inherently visual. So, hey, we're changing. They spent the first 15 minutes talking about 10, 15 minutes talking about how they've upgraded the frosted glass or the glass effect to being more frosted, to being just, opaque at some points. You have a slider now that can uh, change the level of transparency because, hey, we all said it when they decided they were going to do glass. Like, this was a bad UI. And they said, shut up. You guys don't know what you're talking about. Then everyone said, this is still a bad UI when they shipped it on phones and shipped it in iPads and shipped it on their laptops. And they said, okay, fine, we'll add a second level of opaqueness to it. And everyone said, this is still bad. So now they're saying, all right, leave us alone, get your own slider, and you guys can adjust it as much as you want. You can go back to a fully opaque version of this thing. That was one thing that they talked about. So I think they're in beta right now, so you can probably go ahead and try that. The other thing we got was Siri got a complete overhaul. She's being it's being reimagined as dedicated system-wide orchestrator rather than a passive voice assistant. It now lives natively within Spotlight on macOS and embedded in the dynamic island in iOS. It's a multi-turn conversational. It has multi-turn conversational memory, deep cross-app context, mining data across. Again, these and again, we've always talked about this. Everything sounds great in its own ecosystem cocoon. Google Gemini sounds great when it can access Gmail, access, uh, uh, Workspace, Google Home, all the things that are Google. When you start to, be a human, ironically, and access things outside of the ecosystem like Facebook, Instagram, OneNote, Office, a bunch of other systems all at the same time, then these things start to fall apart. But Siri is built very much the same way. This new Siri, where she can access mail, messages, and photos, all within the phone. Does a great job when you see the demos on that, but when you ask it to do anything outside of those, it's like, oh, I don't have permission. Then there were app intent frameworks, where a mandate Apple is now officially deprecating the old Siri Kit framework and moving forward, developers are required to expose app actions directly in Swift using expanded app intents was their thing. There's a third party model choice. Apple is allowing users to opt into external foundation models, including Gemini, Google Gemini, Claude, and ChatGPT. Which again, I thought this was something they mentioned 2 years ago that you'd be able to pick your large language model. Seems like they're just finally going forward with that, and now they have more options. Because I think before they just basically said you can pick whichever one you want. Now they have, I guess, more actual partners in Claude and OpenAI, and I think they were probably going to have XAI in there as well. The M4 Ultra Silicon was introduced, even though they have M5 chipsets out. But it's always kind of weird that they do the Ultra as basically a beefed up version, like 4 motherboards of the previous model chip. Um, but anyway, that was introduced and it's relying heavily on neural engine throughputs to power these heavy on-device multimodal AI tasks. There was some aggressive hardware gatekeeping. Major points discussions among developers is that there's a strict system requirement. So to access this new Apple Intelligence, this new version of Siri, I think it's M4 models going forward. So if you have an M1, M2, you have an older, I think an iPhone that is anything older than the iPhone 16 or maybe 17. Most of this won't be accessed. All the stuff you sat through was a waste of your time. And again, it just seems ironic because this was also the same kind of guff that Microsoft got when they were saying, "Hey, because of the what was it? The security. What's that security part of the chip or silicon that they were
TPM.
TPM. Because of that, Windows 11 can't be accessed on older hardware. Eventually, they, kind of relax some of those rules. But the idea is like, hey, going forward, we want to set a baseline, and the baseline is going to be pretty high in order to achieve some really high experiences and outcomes. Apple's doing the very same thing with this new version. There were no big hardware reveals, but they did have a panel up on screen for roughly 15 seconds that talked about dynamic UI adjustments for apps. And that kind of hinted at foldables, the way that they were showing it on screen. It wasn't just, here's our two sets of phone and tablet sizes. It was like, hey, if you have to go between those, meaning a phone that becomes a tablet, your app can now dynamically adjust to that. And it's also a size that they don't have in their portfolio currently because, we know that there's the mini, the air, and then the pro, and those are your sets. Now we're talking about something that's a new dynamic size. So we can pretty much deduce that they're going to be going with that. And that is basically WWDC. So that's why when you were hinting at and joking at, was it big? Big for them, for the rest of the industry, as usual. It's kind of like, we've already been here for the past 2 years. What were your
Well,
thoughts on?
was it really that big for them? Because there was one and you talked about it briefly there for a minute. The thing that stuck in my brain, and I think they Apple has got their users and users that even aren't Apple believing that Apple is secure. Apple is secure. If I go buy that iPhone, they're doing this on my device. They're not sending it to the cloud. Okay, I get it. But what are they doing? You touched on it. They're forcing you to buy new hardware to get these features because we are keeping you secure. Are you really? Can anybody independently verify that if I ask Siri an AI question, she never goes to the cloud, or if I do this or that with a photo, it never goes to the cloud? This is my issue with Apple. I have no issue with their hardware. They make solid hardware. They make decent software. But the way they present these things sometimes, and this just irritated me when you and I were watching it together, not in the same location, but it was irritating me to no end. I had to take my fingers off the keyboard because I feel like it's a smoke and mirrors. It's happening on my device. It's happening on my device. People, it's just like I just said with an Android device, or when I was talking about my rant with storage. When you sign into your iPhone, you are accessing the, let's all say it together, cloud. Your data is there. When you search something on your iPhone, you are accessing the cloud. Now, Apple likes to use this deal. Oh, everything's end to end encrypted. Not even we can access. Okay, that's great. But you're still accessing the cloud. So if their reasoning for AI not being up to par with what Google offers and even what Microsoft offers in Copilot is because we want to keep your stuff safe, that's a half baked. What you want me to do is buy into the whole thing, decide that I need a new phone to run the whole thing, and go buy the new phone, go buy the new PC, and keep adding to the Apple bank account. Again, I have issues with this because I am of the belief that consumers need to understand one thing. You turn on your PC, you turn on your phone, you turn on your TV, you turn on your smart speaker. Once you sign in, you're in. Your data's out there. In most cases, your data's there. If you want to be a part of technology in 2026, then you accept that. I don't want to hear from Apple that, well, because we're keeping you safe, we're doing this on your phone. Oh, and you need to buy a new phone to do this. I won't have the choice to say, yes, go ahead and put my stuff in the cloud. You're doing it anyway, and so is every other provider. And let me use the services on my M1, on my M2, on my M3, on my iPhone 14, on my iPhone 15, on my iPhone 16, whatever, this lady here, the lady in the blue skirt, she did the demo and then got to the end of the demo, and she said, "This goes all the way back to, I believe, your iPhone 13." And people cheered. That lady right there that's on our screen, if you're watching our video, it goes all the way back to your iPhone 13. And, people kinda got a little excited over that. That's right. iOS will go back to, it's right here, your iPhone 11, excuse me, goes back to your iPhone 11. You can install it on your iPhone 11. Do you get the features? No. You get updates. You don't get the features. All right. I'm going to calm down. This bugs me. This has always bugged me about Apple. This is what irritates me. They're always forcing you to buy hardware to get the new features. Okay. Sorry, buddy.
Hey,
Uh,
no, I
uh,
mean,
uh,
this is the rant episode.
did this, did it just That's the one thing about them that irritates me. I do not have an iPhone currently, but all of my siblings do. I'm the one person in the family. My brother even went back to iPhones. I'm a lone soldier. I'm the only one with Android. Now, have I thought about buying an iPhone for the sake of family FaceTimes and stuff like that? Sure. I miss out on some of those things. I absolutely do. But even they mention, David, I got the software update for my iPhone. It just doesn't work the same. I think after a couple updates, David, they do something to those updates to make you want to go buy a new phone. I don't disagree. This is the Apple trend. This is the Apple way. You want the software? Buy the better hardware. It's good software. Buy the better hardware.
Yeah, I don't have nearly as explicit rant as you, but
Sorry. I'm
obviously,
sorry.
no, it's all good. I do have the same feelings. I think my biggest thing, aside from the 15 minutes they spend on, all the privacy security things that they're implementing for children, which are great, it just means that it's collecting a ton of information. I don't, to
Absolutely.
what extent we don't know yet, but that is a ton of information you're giving one company about your child. So, people trust Apple. I don't begrudge them that. My biggest rant was this UI that we're watching on the screen, this dynamic island slash Siri thing, and I think it looks bad. I'm not a fan of it. I don't think it works very well because it's introducing a new UX behavior of being able to swipe down from the if you're using your finger. On the demos, they kept using the button and you were talking into it. Now we know that, not a lot of people in the age group of, I don't know, 25 to 45 are going to be talking a lot. Now, I've seen my daughters, they love talking to their watches, they talk to the phone, they do a lot of talking. So maybe they're ahead of the curve right now. But for the rest of us normies who text, or kind enough to be on a train and say, you know what, I'm not going to yell out loud in front of everybody. You have to swipe down from the dynamic island in order to use this. And it just seems like you've introduced swipe down one side for notifications, swipe down another side for settings panel, swipe down the middle for UI, that for Siri, like, and then it's to expand it. And I think you swipe it fully down, and then it opens up into the app itself. Like, it just seems a little convoluted as opposed to just having a dedicated app necessarily. And I get that it's cool that it's baked into this, but it just seems overly convoluted for what used to be or still is kind of an industry mocking tool. Like, I don't know. I'm glad they baked all this stuff into Siri, but so far Siri's been known for the last 10 years as a joke. And I
Mhm.
don't think people are going to run to Siri now to be like, oh, it's now more intelligent. They're going to be like, oh, that it's the same thing with Clippy. You can beef up Clippy all you want. Name it Cortana if you want. No one's going to use Microsoft's chatbot. That's just the way it is. They did Cortana in its own panel as a new thing. I mean, a Copilot as a new thing, as a part of an extension of Bing search, and they renamed that entirely. Because again, when you gave it Bing, people are like, "Ha, that's a joke. That's dumb. We're not going to use Bing, uh, Bing search or Bing AI." When you called it Copilot, people are like, "Oh, that sounds new and it's in Windows. I will try this thing."
Mhm.
Maybe with, keeping it the Siri brand, I think you've doomed it for another 2 to 5 years of people still going like, "Oh, this thing's still a joke." The most I use it for is a timer. Now I can use it for a timer, and it can also potentially tell me, who this actress was on this show that I can barely, bother to look up from my phone to watch fully. I don't see this being a big grasp for them, especially just because the Siri brand I think is beyond being tarnished.
You know what I like the most? I like Gemini, and I will explain that for 2 seconds. The button on the side of an Android phone, not it's I don't know what that button is called, quick action button. There we go.
Mhm.
The quick action button. My quick action button is linked to Gemini. I tap that quick action button, it analyzes my screen. I ask it my question, I get my answer, we carry on our conversation if needed, yada yada. But the integration is there. It's a push of a button. If I need to add a photo for Gemini to see, there's a plus button down there for me to do that. I add a photo if I need it to take a picture of my screen to get my question. It does that. It does that well. There's no sliding, there's no flipping, there's no flopping, there's no folding. I press a button. It's there, it's listening, I get what I need, which leads me to use AI more. I probably use it a dozen times a day, sometimes more depending on what I'm doing. But I can't see myself in the interface demo at WWDC enjoying my experience of using AI and getting the information I need on an iPhone. I can't.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's gonna be interesting. Again, we could be, Apple has a way to kind of make things mainstream, and this is our
They
early
do.
reactions. So we'll see how people adopt to this. I just don't see it. And again, at the end of the day, I think what I wrote about was that Apple seems to be coming 2 years late. I think most normal people's adoption of AI is starting to wane. Interest in as far as commercial success is still there. The investments are still being built out. People are still gonna, businesses are still gonna try and use this. I think people's curiosity with AI may have hit its apex,
It
and I
may.
think and I think we're about to see a part where people are like, you know what, you say the words AI, and people will grimace before you even tell them what it can and can't do. So it's gonna be and again, this is only in beta. This isn't out yet. Remember, Copilot's out. And they're having to pull back on where they put it. And they're having to say, okay, I think just yesterday we wrote a story about how they're offering a toggle switch in Edge to say, okay, well, you could have search without a Copilot or being AI in there. Do you want your old search back? Microsoft's already gotten to that point where they put it in too many places. Now people are saying, take it out of places. And they're saying, okay, we'll put it in strategic places. And I think Apple's come rushing in like, we put it everywhere, just like Google did at their Google I/O. And they're going to have to come to a place where they need to recalibrate and say, okay, maybe it's not in everything. And I think, but again, they're not even to saying, hey, here it is yet. They're saying this is where it could be. And they did this 2 years ago. So we'll wait and see when this is actually released, if it's released in its full, or if it's released again in beta, and then we only get half the things, and then they get sued because they didn't release the thing fully, and they have to pay another 500, 700 million, whatever it was.
Pocket
With that being
change, pocket change.
pocket change. I mean, it's only pocket change until pockets are empty, then you're broke. With that being said, we'll go to our next to last story, which is the big one, which is Xbox. Another rant we're coming up with, and this is based on the 100-day mark and several interviews over the past, I don't know, week or so of my Xbox CSO, CFO, and CEO, all of them coming out and giving some very candid and transparent and appreciated commentary about the state of Xbox. Asha was out there talking about how exclusives are still a thing, and we're going to reprioritize that, and we need to have that for the platform, which is great because Phil spent the better part of 10 years saying, exclusives are a thing of the past and they lock you in, and we want to be more free as a platform. Which again, if they had finally executed on all of their, tenets, could have been a strategy. But it seems like everybody's retrenching, especially in the light of, a new economic reality that, hey, maybe, it's not a bad idea. Um, she was also talking about some of the struggles that Xbox has had, and how she also wants to move away from, or at least the brand move away from apologizing so much, saying like, hey, we made a mistake because we tried this thing and it didn't work out. The idea is that, it's not that they're not going to apologize about things, but they're going to be more strategic on what they try so they don't have to do it as often. It seems like, again, under Phil Spencer, they were just kind of like, let's try this thing. Okay, it didn't work out. Sorry, guys. We hear you. We're moving on to the next thing. Let's try this thing out. And after you try out so many things that keep failing, you start to lose the trust of your audience. They're going to say, oh, well, this isn't going to last. Or, it's the same kind of running joke when you have Google's graveyard, because they tried so many things. Yeah, it's great that they're
Mhm.
trying so many things, but when you can't invest in something because you're thinking it's going to be cut, then it starts to become an issue. We also had, I believe, the CSO was talking about um, one of the whiplashing effects that they had with the raise in price for, I think it was Xbox. Which tier was that? Ultimate?
Yeah, it went from 30 to it went up to 30, and then she dropped it back to 22.
Right. Well, they were saying because they lost millions of subscribers based on that. That's what he came out and said.
I
That was a
don't
reality. That was something that wasn't told or said during, any investors meetings or anything publicly made. They just
I don't doubt that because I watched social media real hard when they made that $30 announcement, and it was a fallout like I personally have never seen on social media in the gaming arena.
Yeah. So, and again, this is part of the transparency to earn back trust. People, to your point, you felt it, you saw it, but they never came out and said it because they weren't going to admit to that. They just kind of shuffled the numbers and moved some things around. But the fact that they said, "Hey, part of the catalyst on why we brought the prices down," and again, it wasn't a huge price drop, but it was enough to say, "Hey, we hear you," was because we saw the audience move away, and we want to win that audience back, which is great. Another thing that they came out this week and talked about. Um, was the technical difficulties that they're going to face as far as building the next Xbox console. Again, we know that we're in roughly Ramageddon. Like it's going to be hard to make these devices, handhelds, to make consoles, to make just the hardware that goes in, chips that go in the controllers, the chips that go into the consoles. All of that stuff is going to be harder, and they're trying to figure out new ways to supplement that, especially if we're gonna have to wait in order to get this hardware. We're waiting to potentially 2028 before we start getting dev kits, let alone an actual, for sale product. So they're thinking about, offering other advertising tiers to make up for the idea of expanding Xbox Game Pass for right now, so that people can play on whatever device they currently have. If you're waiting to get to that console, maybe you can at least play on your phone. I mean, on your tablet, or you can play on your TV through, your Amazon Fire Stick, but you can do it at a more affordable rate while you're waiting. Because it's one thing to be locked into a console and say, all right, well, I'm stuck on this old console for the next 5 to 10 years, and the games aren't advancing. But if you put these games on Game Pass, then it's a way to get to that. All that said, that was a lot of goodwill. That we applaud them for that. Here comes the hammer.
And it's a big one, boys. Get ready. We're gonna drop one here.
Exactly. Little drum roll. Uh, Another round of layoffs. Another big round. This was said. What was this? 2 days ago, you and I were talking about it.
Yep, and I'm gonna have to take some deep breaths here, but
Yeah, they are gearing up for another round of massive layoffs, and this marks the third of such massive layoffs since they bought Activision Blizzard. And again, we talked off mic, and I'm gonna let David jump in because I've been talking a lot about how we were sympathetic to the idea of consolidating, but I'm having a real issue with this rinse and repeat cycle of every 6 months or 8 months that they say, "Oh, we gotta trim down more." I'm gonna let you go, and then I'll jump into why I'm more upset about
I think the more I've thought about this, because we talked about it off mic, we talked about it early in the week, I think I can condense my anger down to this. If when I look at Xbox layoffs, Xbox likes to market it to you, the Xbox division, the Xbox division. No, Xbox is Microsoft. Microsoft is Xbox. You can go spend billions of dollars to OpenAI. Sasha Nadella can get up on stage at Build and talk about how AI is expanding, how they are investing, how they're doing this. You don't hear that AI isn't doing well. We're cutting people from the AI division. You don't hear that Windows is not doing well. Let's, trim that division. You're not hearing that. You're hearing that Xbox is not doing well, so we've got to take more jobs away from that division with no penalty whatsoever. Now, why are you having to do this? Xbox just didn't fall on its face. Xbox, let's call it what it is. Xbox has kind of been tumbling down, falling on its face now for a few years. We've been trying to figure out what's going on, and I'm hoping that Asha can, she's showing a lot of promise here in the first 100 days. She's out there, she's talking, she's, making moves. I hate to say it, more so than what Phil did at times, Phil Spencer. But she's making that attempt to make things better. But if you're going to start laying off people at this level of layoffs, as you said, every 6, 7, 8 months, every June for the last 3 years, we start hearing about layoffs and they stretch through September, October-ish, then they drop off again until next year. There's got to be some accountability for just taking people's jobs due to bad decisions by management. I don't care what those decisions are. I really do not. When you are a company of the size of Microsoft and you start dropping people, it's not a money thing. You've got the cash to pay their salaries and pay their benefits. You have it. It's bad decision making, and somebody needs to be held accountable, or there needs to be some way of accountability to a company when they start firing X amount of people or a percentage within a certain amount of time. Cut their tax breaks, increase, whatever it takes to get their attention and go, somebody's making bad decisions here. I do not like seeing people lose jobs, and I know there's gonna be people in the comments, "David, you're wrong because of this. David, you didn't think of this." I'm not thinking of every scenario. I'm not interested in thinking of every scenario. Why? I see the number of people being told, "Bye, go find somewhere else to work." There becomes a point in any company where it's a management problem, and there needs to be something there for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a bow on this as well. I'm in the same boat. Articulated slightly different is that yes, there needs to be accountability, and maybe it goes to my point. We need to find where the hole's at. There is something within Microsoft that isn't doing well, and during the earnings calls we identified it's hardware probably. So figure out your next console. Make sure that it can sustain itself on what it is and don't, overpromise, overproduce. And if you're falling in the market, then you need to be okay at being, like Nintendo was for a long time, just third place until you get a hit. But you got to be able to sustain yourself. You can't over leverage. If it's your studios, figure out which studios are costing you and why. Why is it? Why, do an analysis on what the games were. Was it marketing that was a problem? Was it the online aspects of the game that were too costly? Were the servers too much? Did the developers spend way too much money up front? Was their budget overblown for the game that they were producing? Figure that stuff out instead of just saying, having it run and then saying at the end of it, all right, cut that entire studio because they could produce another game. You have talented people. But if you tell them, hey, your budget is 5 million, we're not going to go over it. I know you guys want to do a bunch of great things, but we're not going to go over that budget because we need to sustain ourselves. And if it does well, we'll add on to it. This is all software. You can add on, just like Grand Theft Auto was a great sandbox game, open world sandbox. And then they added an online component that blew up even more. And it tied right into the sandbox aspect of it. You can go back and you can retrofit stuff if it's a success, but don't overgrandize things from the beginning. So again, find out where your hole is at. Why do you keep having to cut these many people? And make sure that you do an analysis that is worth the time. Spend the year or two, maybe three if it cost you that, before you come out and say, all right, we're going to get rid of 16,000 jobs or six. Yeah. If that's the plan, make sure that's the one cut. But if you having to keep doing it every time you switch over management, every 6 to 8 months are saying, oh, we found out that we have to get rid of two more studios plus another 1,500 people. Where was that analysis? Where was that, where were the bean counters earlier that year when you could have said, oh, hey, we are way over our shoes on this. Let's, cut back on this thing or start to guide it in a different direction or tell them, hey, if you guys keep going the same way and you don't produce pretty soon, we're then going to need to cut you. I'm just saying it seems like they come out with a lot of goodwill and then undercut it with these layoffs because they keep telling us games are important. Guess who creates games? People.
Mhm.
And you keep cutting people. So how important could games really be? If the people behind it, again, they can't enjoy their work because they are now looking for new work. And perhaps they can't find a job because I know in this market, it's pretty stagnant, at least here in the United States, where people who have the jobs can keep their jobs because, not a lot of companies are out looking for new talent. But those who have lost the job can't get new positions because again, no one's looking for new talent. So now they're
But
not even buying the games. People who were participating in the games, making the games, can't enjoy the games because they don't have income to do it.
how much are the ones that and this is just a vague question. How much are the ones that producing the games enjoying the games versus looking over their shoulder wondering, "Is this good enough? Am I next?" When you're creating something, be it a game, be it a blog post, be it an image, be it a video, if you do not have mentally the freedom to create, your product will always suffer.
Agreed. And now, with that being said, we're going to try and end on a lighter note
Yes,
for the
please.
games that so far are in they've gotten past development or about to like be launched. We had what was it this weekend? We had the Xbox Game Showcase. I think it's the full title.
Mhm.
And so they went over a series of games that should be coming out. We're gonna give you guys that. Our list of games are, let me make sure I get them right. We got the probably the biggest headliner was Gears of War, E-Day. That was
Mhm.
a big one. Halo
Um,
has a campaign involved, which is another big one. Uh, it's, it's skipping its fall release window and maybe arriving early July 28, 2026. So that's good. Basically, the context behind this is that you're getting a visual overhaul of of uh, of the game. You're getting a new operation in the game and three brand new campaigns. Fable, which we've been hearing so much about, finally got a release window of February 23rd, 2027. Um, and it's trying to get out of the crowded late 2026 window, which there are a ton of games coming out at that time. We got Clockwork Revolution. This is a new game, I believe. It's a narrative gameplay trailer from In Exile, I believe, is how you say the studio's name. And so we got the trailers for those. Some of the premiere surprises we got were Persona 6 and Persona 4 Revival. We got Spiro, A Realm Beyond, which was another one. Sinua, which is a Ninja Theory officially was announced. This is the third installment of the Hellblade series. And Resonance, A Plague Tale Legacy. And then there were some expansions and some live games and partner highlights, which were Doom: The Dark Ages and Call of Duty: Modern Warfare 4, which you get a deeper look at the experience of a DMZ section. And then some other reveals that we got were State of Decay 3, which is the one I'm looking forward to the most because I love State of Decay 2. It looks like you're going to have a much more inclusive online multiplayer experience. And as far as building houses and stuff, you might be able to do it independent of both being online. Because I think at the time you couldn't participate in building another person's camp unless you were both online together. But now you
right.
might be able to hop online and build camps independently of each other. Metro 2039, Wulong 2, and Wings of Ember, and Minecraft Dungeons 2, which I love Minecraft Dungeons 1. Me and my girls love playing that. So the second one should be hopefully well appreciated. What are your thoughts and what were you looking forward to playing from the showcase?
I'm a Gears of War fan through and through and a Halo fan through and through, so I'm looking forward to E-Day and just getting back into the Halo campaign involved, even if it is just a remake. I'm still totally interested. I'm a nostalgia gamer sometimes, and these are two of the nostalgia titles that really Halo hooked me into Xbox just like everybody else. And then Gears of War came along at just the right time and kinda hooked me back in, some of my greatest memories were, sitting at my house and my brother at his house and playing the campaign in Gears of War. The co-op campaign. That was when multiplayer gaming finally clicked for me and said, "This is
Well, I think that's
awesome."
coming back to the new Halo, isn't it? The split screen.
Yep, that split screen's coming back in Halo, and I've got a little niece over here that has never I was thinking about that the other day. She's getting into the Nintendo, the Happy Meals. I don't know how Happy Meals are done, but the Happy Meals, they have the toy, and she got one of the Marios the other day. And I'm like, she doesn't know the world of Mario of sitting down with 2 controllers and one person's Mario and one person's Luigi, and you see how far you can go. She doesn't have that experience. So when I saw that, this split screen's coming back, maybe by the time that comes out, that's something I can get her involved in and at least introduce her to the split screen style of play. So I'm really interested to see Halo Combat Evolved and Gears of War E-Day come back just for a good old nostalgia fun. A game doesn't have to be flashy and have 6 or 7 or 8 multiplayer methods to get my attention. It's just gotta be good.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm looking forward to, like I said, there's State of Decay, there's Gears of War. There were some like cool, like looking indie games that had some really cool like artwork to go along with them. I think it was what was is it Spiro? I think it was that has a like Studio Ghibli kind of looking artwork style to it, which could be kind of fun. It looks like they've redone a little bit of the Minecraft artwork as well. I'm enthralled when it comes to like these weird kind of games that have a stylistic interpretation to them. So the showcase was great, but again, this showcase happened last weekend before we got the bad news of all the developers being cut. So it kind of put a damper on it by the time we got to the end of this week. But these games should be coming out. These studios, were showcased during this thing. So it, presumably means that they will keep their jobs for a little while, and we could all kind of enjoy that for the moment. With that being said, let's start to wrap this up. We got free play games as well. So these are games that are out again as of Thursday, not games that will be out later in the year. So if you want to go play something now, what do you suggest people go play?
Yeah, you can pick these up over the weekend. We've got, to run through these real quick because 'cause we've kinda gone a little bit over our usual podcast time limit here. We got 3 games that are big on survival this weekend. So if you're gonna play one of these, you really better be ready to survive. My favorite in this one is Hell Let Loose, which is a, World War II 50v50 FPS style game, but this one requires a little more strategy, more or less of the run and gun. So you've got Hell Let Loose, and it is 49.99. This one is not on sale. It is a 4 out of 5 star. You've got State of Decay 2. We were just talking about State of Decay 3 coming later this year. So we've got State of Decay 2 Juggernaut Edition for 23.99. As you mentioned, it's a good game, and most Xbox players must think it's a good game. It is a 5 out of 5 star game. I'm gonna check that out this weekend. Let's see, what else do we have? The one that I love to pronounce, Blasphemous 2. That is a 5-star game, and that is 29.99. That one is not on sale this weekend. So you've got those 3, and the last 2, State of Decay 2 Juggernaut Edition is free play days for all, right along with Blasphemous 2. What does free play days for all mean? It means no Game Pass membership required. So if you want to get into Hell Let Loose and do some shooting and enjoy that artillery fire that happens in that game, the artillery fire in that game is pretty good. You're gonna need that membership, and if you play the game and wanna keep it, it's gonna cost you $49.99. As I said, there's only one on sale this week for $23.99, State of Decay 2. The rest of them appear to be full price, unfortunately, but still good games and not the full 70 bucks. So, I'm going to pick Hell Let Loose and State of Decay 2 Juggernaut Edition. I'm going to be trying those out. Blasphemous is not my thing. I have tried that one before. I just don't care for it. So, what are you going to be playing, my friend?
Like we said, I'm going to be doing State of Decay. That's just my like, I've been playing it for years since the very first one. Um, and I've been having a blast with it. So I'm gonna probably pick that back up again. To be completely honest with you, though, I'm probably still playing Gotham Knights. I've been really enthralled with that game since I got it last week for 8.99. I don't know what the price. It might have gone back up, but it was a bundle. So I'll be playing that. And again, if I can sneak in some more time, I'll re-engage with my camp that I've left unattended for the last, I don't know, year and a half from State of Decay. So
Hi
hopefully those people are
hi
still alive.
his camp is homeless and abandoned him.
I mean, they're probably dead by now. They may be zombies by the time I get back. So I'll tell you guys what the update is next week. Where can people find you and hang out with you if you're playing this weekend? Where can they see you?
I plan to be playing this weekend because it's going to be scorching, scorching hot here this weekend. So David PAJ 1978 over on the Blue Sky or David PAJ over on the Twitch. Jump in there, say hi. I gamed for a little while last weekend, but this weekend I'm probably gonna have a little more time because not any family events that I have been informed of yet. I may get informed later of what I'm doing at parks this weekend, but the weather here is well over 100 degrees, so it's either swimming pool or video games, and I think I'm gonna choose video games for a while.
That seems like a good choice. I got yard work, but when I am not out doing yard work, I will be playing some video games. So you can find me at Happy Hulk on Blue Sky or Happy Hulk One on Threads. Please reach out if you want to talk about comics, gaming, even politics. I will be online. Other than that, we've kept you long enough. Go out and enjoy your weekend. Go eat some good food, listen to some good music, do a quick dance if no one's looking, or if you don't care, if you're proud of it, do a quick dance while everyone's looking. Go for a walk, take a nap, do some laundry if you want to, if that's what makes you feel good. We will see you guys again next week for the big 101. We're going to keep saying that now that we've gotten into the triple digits for our podcast. We want to thank you guys for hanging out with us for 100 episodes. We appreciate it.
Very much so. Everybody have a good weekend, and we'll get some of this content up later today, and we will see you next week.
See you guys later.